Hey everybody, my name is Eli. I'm here at Ethereum Denver. I'm here with Nick. He is the team lead of the Graph Foundation. Nick, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I've been thrilled to
Uh,
meet you.
I'm glad you're here. How are you finding Ethereum Denver so far?
Well, I think it's a mix. There's some really cool storylines happening here right now. I
Okay.
think people are excited about this institutional enterprise play.
hmm
And I think for the first time in the history of this industry, people are really at the conversation table. So that's exciting. Interesting to see what AI is doing here and how that's going to factor in. A
Yeah.
lot of people talking about open claw and all those things. But also, I think, the industry is maturing and projects are having to get super serious about revenue and sustainability. And
Yeah.
you're sensing that as well.
Yeah. Have you been to Ethereum Denver in the past? What do you think of like Ethereum Denver's in the past compared to now?
It's here in 22.
Okay.
Team's been here many times since then. I'd say the numbers are down this year. I mean, I don't want to like throw a blanket,
No, it's okay.
but it seems like the numbers are down.
Okay.
But the quality of conversations are up. So maybe that's the trade-off.
Yeah. So more quality, less quantity,
Could be.
which isn't a bad thing.
I think it's like I said, the industry's maturing. That's probably what we need.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about the graph. Like, what is it? What kind of things do they do?
The graph is a decentralized protocol,
Okay.
and it solves a very specific problem. So, as you know, a blockchain was designed fundamentally to be written to,
hmm
and that's a great thing. And everybody's very excited about this decentralized ledger. But you got to read that data at some point, right? We got to access it,
Yeah.
and that's where the graph steps in. So,
Okay.
branded early on as the Google of blockchain, the graph is a solution that makes accessing and reading blockchain data a lot easier. And a lot of your audience will probably know this, but the graph was the first mover in this space. So we were the sort of first protocol to step forward and offer an indexing solution to get that blockchain data. And by virtue of that, introduced a lot of the early standards for the industry. So subgraphs are ubiquitous. Everybody uses subgraphs, and that's because of the graph and the early team and the work done.
Wow. So how long? How long has graph been along or been
So
around for?
yeah. So I joined in 21. I think it really caught hold in the public eye kind of late 2020. But the team, the founding team, they've been working on this thing since 2018, and really cool origin story of where the idea came from. And so they've been at it for a long time.
Okay. And so if I'm not a technical person, like how would you explain the graph to them, or like what do you do with them? Yeah, tell me a little more about
Yeah. So I think for a non-technical person, the thing to understand here is people want to make use of blockchain data.
that. Okay.
They need a solution that they can use that will extract the data in an organized way that they can then go do something with it. They might want to build an application with that data. They might want a dashboard. They may even want to just create a situation where they can track transactions, maybe for their own
Yeah.
portfolio.
Mhm.
So the graph is a solution to do that.
Okay. And so I can essentially, I think it is like these blockchain explorers, like the idea of going on and reading Etherscan or, the Bitcoin Explorer, like it's a very daunting kind of task.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the graph is essentially makes that data readable.
Yeah, and I think what to kind of drive home on that point, the graph would be the infrastructure that powers those users, right? So where are they getting the data, and how are they getting those feeds? And most of the time, it's going to be through the graph.
Okay. And what do you do with the graph? Tell me
Sure.
more about that.
So I'm part of the Graph Foundation team. We're about a 15-person team. We manage the treasury, so
Okay.
and we fund and explore projects that can benefit from using the graph. So we're the stewards of the health and growth of the protocol.
Oh,
The technology itself, the protocol itself, it's decentralized. So anybody that wants to kind of participate in this ecosystem and be a service provider can do so.
okay.
But we have the mandate to kind of do what's in the best interest of the protocol, to fund it with the treasury, and to keep this thing moving along. And so that's what me and my team spend our day doing. Yeah.
Okay. And so how I guess you talk about like making these blockchain explorer data more, readable and more digestible. Is it like every single blockchain, that we have, or like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, the graph is integrated. You're essentially kind of everywhere, it sounds like.
Well, that's an important point. So, yes, we can integrate all chains,
Okay.
but we have to be a little picky and choosy. So, this isn't a decision I make. This is something that the contributors within the ecosystem make. But there are costs tied to onboarding a chain into the graph, and so you have to get a little bit judicious. And you got to look at that blockchain environment and say, okay, how many devs are building in that space, and what's the runway and projection of the sustainability of this particular chain? And then you make a decision at the community level. Is this a chain we want to support on the graph? And in the early days, I think there was a huge appetite. Then there was a proliferation of chains, and it was kind of like, okay, well, there's a cost to this. Can we really bring on every chain? And so we've retooled a little bit at the ecosystem level how that process works. But I can say, on behalf of the foundation team, we have a huge appetite to bring every chain onto the graph, and our vision is to definitely do that.
Yeah, yeah. And so then you mentioned there's obviously, not everybody is you're a little bit choosier with who, comes on. And then it sounds like the community is quite involved in that. Is it, is there like a DAO or, how does that
Yeah.
community involvement work?
So when you think about that blockchain data and how you're going to get access to it, we don't want anything centralized, right?
Yeah.
So we're not in AWS. We don't centralize that storage. We have a distributed network of node operators.
Oh, it's a little kind of like deep in that.
A little bit that way.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And so these node operators are globally distributed. They're participating permissionlessly, and they're the ones storing the data. And as a result of that, we work very close with service providers like that, as well as community members that want that are interested in the future of the graph to vote on and create governance related to how chains can onboard onto the graph and get that support.
Yeah. So then, I mean, the typical node operator within the graph, is this like an institutional person, a company, or am I just, some person in their house, or is it both, or what's
That's a
that?
great question, right?
Yeah.
So I think historians one day will write books and articles about this very question at the graph because it was an early mover in the space, and there is different personas of node operators that kind of showed up, and you do have that sole proprietor, one person shop who's trying to make it in the space. So they invest in the software and the hardware to be a node operator.
Yeah.
And then you have enterprise level, sometimes even like exchanges
Really?
that want to be a node operator. So you've got the whole gambit. And
Yeah.
I think the business case here or the article hook would be sort of who made it and who didn't and why. But
Okay.
the graph itself is permissionless. So anybody that wanted to be a node operator could do so.
Okay. And what was, I guess, what were the costs like? Is there like a minimum cost? $5, I can start running a node.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a good question as
Yeah.
well. And yeah, you have to create skin in the game
Yeah.
type of incentivization.
Yeah.
What you don't want is you don't want node operators to show up with no skin in the game and act in a way that is not in good faith. And so what you do is
Distractive a little. Yeah.
yeah. So what you want to do is you want to architect some incentives and some commitments early on such that they are going to be a good actor from day one. And so, yeah, there are some parameters such as like staking the token native to the protocol, that's skin in the game.
Yeah.
That represents a little bit of economic security. And then there's a host of other things that ensure there's good actors.
Okay. And so how does the graph make money? I mean, you guys have a token. I mean, what does the model look like for you for revenue? Since it sounds like that's a thing that a lot of people are talking about now.
Yeah, well, as I said earlier,
You get us a long time, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, so the foundation itself is a nonprofit. So
Okay.
we're not in the game of monetizing. We take our mission aligned and stewardship very serious.
Okay.
So we manage the treasury. We're in the business of giving funding out, not taking. But at the protocol level, in terms of like the tokenomics, it's really those service providers, that indexer network, and then the people that participate with them. So we have within our protocol delegators. These are people who have GRT and they want to invest in, you could say, a node operator, give them GRT tokens to scale and grow their business. So it's not an investment in the traditional sense. It's a allocation of those tokens to a node operator such that they can cover more chains and scale their service. So those are the individuals within the ecosystem who can earn rewards and benefit from adoption and use.
Okay. And then how is their profit generate, like revenue generated for the people that are the node operators, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think that was your question. Forgive.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
So the answer is, if you and I were technical and we were a node operators, we would get some software, we'd get some hardware, and then once we're on the network, we would participate in serving queries.
Yeah.
So every time someone uses the graph and says, "Hey, I need data for this," I'm going to query the graph. It's going to feed my dashboard or my application or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They're paying via the token to do that. So depending on how we've set up our software and our hardware will determine the margin that we make on our business. And then, as I said, we've got this delegator role where these are people that say, hey, I know those two guys. They're very good people. They have a real strong commitment and vision for the graph and the ecosystem. I'm going to allocate some of my tokens to them. For us, that allows us to serve more users. So really, it's on that adoption and the quote unquote purchase of those queries.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it sounds like the Graph Foundation is it's a very virtuous kind of like project that you have here as far as like, just making data more digestible, and, it's a nonprofit, like you had said. So I think that's really cool. Um, are, like, what is a typical, like, somebody who runs a node for the Graph Foundation? I mean, we already kind of talked about how there's like people all over the place. I mean, how many nodes are there? Like, where are these people at? Or, are they mostly in the US? Are they mostly
Globally distributed. I'm sure if I was more prepared today, I could kind of tell you a heat map of where they are. And you'll forgive me, but we have a team member at the foundation level that kind of oversees, manages, and supports that community. They'd be better to answer that. But it's a diverse group.
Okay.
As I said, it ranges from kind of that sole operator all the way up to larger teams. And I think the kind of key persona here is people that believe in open public data, right?
Yeah.
So these are people that are mission driven as well. They're not as extractive as maybe some of the people in the industry or other type of roles in Web2, centralized services. So these are people committed to open permissionless data, and they see their participation in the graph as a way to bring that vision to life.
Okay. And where do say a year from now, 5 years from now, I mean, the graph is just like, we're just expanding, or are we doing something new, or what is, the future look like?
Yeah, so we just released our new roadmap. It's a technical roadmap. We released it just a few days ago, and this really charts a course forward where we want to turn the graph more into a data services platform. So what I mean by that is, let's now change our little thought experiment from earlier. We're no longer node operators. We have a data service that we think is really cool.
Okay.
We want to somehow be the data service that serves data to users. So we're kind of like, okay, how do we set that up? Like, how do we get access to blockchain data? How do we monetize our business? Where do we launch this thing? Do we have to use a centralized backend like AWS? No, you can go to the graph. So we go to the graph. We work through the whole governance process, meet people at the foundation, and we launch our data service on the graph. And so now we're part of that ecosystem, and we have our own users, but our back end is that decentralized network of node operators and all the benefits of that decentralized protocol. So our vision is to bring as many data services as we can to the protocol and power the future of open data from a decentralized network.
Yeah, so it's just basically just be aggregating data.
That's it. That's the game. So we're super excited about it. For a long time, there was only a handful of products available on the protocol, and our vision is a proliferation of data services supported by that network.
Do you know, like, how many blockchains, like how many people are, using the graph? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, so there's a lot of quarterly reports that go out from Masari and others, and I don't have that data readily at hand, but we've been seeing some nice growth. And in terms of network support, I mean, we're trying, like I said, to support networks. The more the merrier, as you can't be a leader in blockchain data without having a broad range of support. So I invite people to go to graph.com. You can see all the supported networks there and learn more about becoming a node operator, or if you need access to blockchain data, being a consumer of that service.
Cool. And how do so you have the graph.com, you said. I mean, you guys are on socials, like, what are your social handles? Where can I, get in touch with you besides the website?
Yeah, so we're very active on Twitter. You can find at the Graph Protocol on Twitter. Go to the website. It's a great website to get entry point in. And then there's a community, very active community in the Discord. So for anybody that's watching and has the technical chops to get into Discord, which is sometimes a barrier to entry, show up there, and there's a lot of people there available to help and sort of onboard you into not only what the graph is, but how you can participate.
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, Nick, it's been a great conversation. It sounds like, if you're working in the Web3 space, at some point, you will know who the graph is.
That's true.
You know what I mean? At some point, you'll come across you guys. So, hey, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, pleasure. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Gen Z is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a house.
ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Gen Zero Media House.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.